Welcome everyone to the Mental Hygiene Subcommittee as we go through our budget process this year, setting up for fiscal year 2022 to 23. I'm Samra Brook, Senator Samra Brook, Chairwoman for the Mental Health Senate Committee. And I'd like to introduce my senators who are joining us here today. We have Senator Peter Harckham, Senator John Mannion, Senator Simcha Felder, Senator Roxanne Prasad, and Senator Mike Martucci. We'll each have, we'll say 75 seconds to give opening remarks if you so choose. So I will, if you want to raise your hands, if you've got opening remarks, I am happy to call on folks who would like to share at the top of this committee meeting. Senator Harckham.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's a pleasure to be with everyone, all of the chairs, members from both conferences and both houses. This is an annual tradition where we get together every budget cycle. It's a pleasure. I look forward to collaborating with all my colleagues, especially when it comes to the OASIS budget, to craft a budget that puts patient-centered, evidence-based care to the front, breaks down barriers, and assists those who provide that care to the public. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator Harckham. Senator Martucci.
Thank you, Chairwoman. I'm happy to be here and happy to join everyone. Just a couple of things I want to touch on. First, things that I was very glad to see come out of the two one-house proposals. The acceptance of the 5.4 COLA adjustment for our direct care workers, OPWDD, OMH, and OASIS. I was also glad to see that the Assembly went ahead and doubled this proposed COLA. I think this is really important for our direct care workers who've been working throughout the pandemic and have long deserved this funding. I also am glad to see the provided funding for crisis intervention services teams, the acceptance of the increased funding for psychiatric beds, and the acceptance of the executive budget proposal to increase funding for the Joseph P. Dwyer program at $7.7 million. So I think those were all big wins. I also noticed that the Assembly had adopted $135 million additional for OMH worker bonuses. I think that's something that the Senate should definitely consider because those folks, I believe, are as worthy of any and being recognized for their strong work. I do have a couple concerns I just want to call out that I hope we can discuss over the weeks to come. The fact the Senate and the Assembly merely extend Kendra's law and did not strengthen the law or make it permanent is something that I believe that we need to be discussing further. For the tax in places like New York City on the rise, I think we need to be strengthening Kendra's law, making it permanent to ensure that those individuals who are experiencing mental illness, that have a history of hospitalization or violence, get the treatment that they need, and we can make sure that we protect our communities. And lastly, the Assembly not requiring that opioid settlement funds be used pursuant to a plan recommended by the Opioid Advisory Board. It's important to ensure that this bipartisan board remains how it's set up so that vital funding can be allocated for treatment and prevention. So I thank you, Chairwoman. I thank my colleagues for joining. And I look forward to working with everyone to develop the most fiscally responsible budget that we can while providing really important services for mental hygiene initiatives and these other services throughout our state. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Senator Martucci. Senator Mannion.
Thank you, Senator Brook. Thank you for your strong advocacy, and it's great to share in that advocacy with you and everybody that's here today. My comments will be very brief. This is what is in these one-house budgets are a step in the right direction. We have a long way to go because of what we have faced in the past. So whether it's addiction services or people with disabilities or people with mental health issues, we are going to be committed to doing better. And I think where our starting point here is a pretty good one. We have to do better when it comes to diagnosis, housing, interventions, care, and certainly workforce. So I'm happy to be supportive at this point and look forward to working with everyone to continue this commitment going ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Mannion. And I'll add to some of what my colleagues have said. I do think that, each of these one houses and even the executive proposal are far cries from a lot of the previous budgets that many of us are used to seeing. Certainly, we're in a much stronger position than we were last year at this time. We've got some substantial investments because really what we're doing is reversing the course of past austerity measures that we've seen with previous administrations, and really disinvestment from many of the agencies that we all represent. That said, I do think we've got some work to do, as has been mentioned, to get to final agreement. Obviously, we need to get to three-way agreements on all of these between the Assembly, the Senate, and the executive. Specifically, I'll be looking as we continue these conversations about truly modifying and I think improving some proposals, specifically around people who are in mental health crisis. When you get to a point of crisis, it means that we have failed you with the continuum of care, that you get to that crisis moment. And I think as we consider things like Kendra's Law as assisted outpatient treatment, we must remember that the numbers state someone who suffers from mental illness is far more likely to be a victim of violence than to perpetrate it, albeit we have seen some tragic examples otherwise. But the truth is, we really do need to think of this holistically as to how we are beefing up our mental health systems. I hope that goes along with increasing inpatient beds after spending a decade of removing them systematically. And finally, as many of us have talked about, making proper investments in our workforce. These folks are doing life-saving work, truly, and we have essentially ignored them for decades, not allowing them to see any increase in their salaries, and many of them have left the field. And so at this point, we know need is increasing. And so I am pleased that both the one House budgets call for increase, as well as the executive proposal call for increases in pay for our workforce. And hopefully we get to the best of all worlds when we get to our three-way agreement. With that, I will hand it over to Chairwoman Gunther to have opening remarks on the Assembly side.
Well, first of all, I'm going to introduce my colleagues. Of course, I'm Assemblywoman Aileen Gunther. I represent Sullivan and Orange County. I have Philip Steck, Dee Dee Barrett, Tom Abenanti, Anna Kellis, Khalil Anderson, Mary Beth Walsh, and Jarrett Gandolfo. And I'm very glad to be here today. And to me, this is an extremely important issue at this time in New York State. It's been a really difficult few years, and I'm very impressed and happy that we have finally seen some increases in the budget. Is there anybody? Mental health care is vital to all our communities. And during my time in the Assembly, I have seen firsthand the struggle to provide adequate care. As the chair of Assembly Mental Health, along with my colleagues in the Assembly, I've worked tirelessly to increase access to mental health services in our communities. I'm eager to work with this subcommittee and my co-chair, Senator Baruch, to produce an enacted budget that will ensure individuals served in the mental hygiene community are provided with proper supports and services so they can live healthy, safe lives. One of the Assembly's proposal that I am hopeful to have included in the enacted budget is the funding for an 11% human service COLA. Even as the mental hygiene workforce dedicated their time working tirelessly throughout the COVID pandemic to provide services and supports to some of our state's most vulnerable population, the state has not done enough to acknowledge their sacrifice. This resulted in programs struggling to recruit and retain employees, but they still found a way to deliver care. We have a tremendous opportunity with this budget to provide the necessary resources to recruit and retain a workforce that can meet the demands of every service consumer within the mental hygiene system. I'm really excited about it. This is a great budget. It always could be better. You know, as somebody that worked in mental hygiene and somebody that receives calls, I know that Senator does also. We've received calls, both of us, that we're doing a lot, but there's much more to do. The mental health community has been starved for a very, very long time. The people that serve our mental health community also have not seen a fair share of a fair pay for a very long time, a living wage, I would say, for such a complicated job. And so with that, is there anybody that would like to speak in the New York State Assembly?
We have some hands raised, Madam Chair.
Okay, first would be. So what do you do now? Ms. Barrett, you want to?
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair, and to my colleagues in the Senate and in the Assembly. I'm Assembly Member Dee Dee Barrett, and I've had the great honor of chairing the Assembly Committee on Veterans Affairs for the last 4 years. And I am thrilled to see in this budget for the first time that the executive put funding for the Dwyer program, a proven program that has literally saved lives, coming out of a tragedy around suicide, but that has gone on to do really fantastic work. And I know she's put in, and both of our houses have supported the $7.7 billion to fund this statewide. I'm not 100% clear if that's going to fund it statewide, but I think the goal of funding it statewide is something we all support and want to be sure that is done in the best way possible across the state to make this program available to all of our veterans. I share my colleagues' support for this budget in general. It's great news after many years of just heartbreak, and the mental health beds and the workforce issues, I think, remain profound. And I really do hope that when we work on this enacted budget, we come up with a plan, and I call on the executive to work with us on this, to really address the full continuum of care from child care through people with disabilities that are struggling to find care at every stage of life, and then elder care and veteran spouses and family members dealing with returning veterans who are struggling with issues. I mean, we should not every year pit childcare against long-term care, against the direct service providers, against the consumer directed, against the caregivers who are working in our small not-for-profits. This is just so wrong, and we need to address this in a holistic way across the state of New York. So proud to be part of this team here, and thank you to our two chairs for their strong leadership in these issues over this session. Thank you.
Bill Stack?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to say this is an excellent budget in the field of alcoholism and substance abuse, the committee that I chair. There are certainly some very important priorities to the Assembly that I want to mention. We are very strongly in support of expanding the New York Matters program, which the executive had put in the budget. New York Matters allows for immediate attention to people in mental health and substance abuse crisis. It was started by physicians at emergency rooms in Buffalo. It has expanded way out from there and all over the state to every part of the state, which we can accomplish with this budget proposal. And it deals with people in mental health or substance abuse crisis at the places where they're experiencing the crises, such as their own homes, and provides, if necessary, placement in a appropriate program, and also telehealth services if needed at that time. We also have been a strong supporter of the substance abuse prevention and intervention specialist programs in New York City. Being an upstater, I certainly wish that we could expand that statewide. This budget doesn't do that, but we need to keep this program in place in New York City. Finally, one of the things that we have held hearings on and have been trying to deal with are how do we address people who have co-occurring mental health and substance abuse issues. This Assembly proposal, and we're very strongly in support of this, provides money so that the 14 30-day substance abuse facilities that are operated by OASIS will be infused with mental health services. Yes, it is true that 30 days is often not a long enough period to fully address these problems, but we feel very strongly that this effort is a major step forward. And I would certainly be very sad to me if we were not able to do something on the issue of co-occurring disorders in this budget. Thank you very much.
Mary Beth Walsh.
Thank you, Chair Gunther. Hello to everybody. It's a pleasure to join with you this afternoon. I'm a member of the Mental Health Committee in the Assembly. I would say that overall, I think that the proposed one-house budgets really do a lot to address the problems that we've seen that have only worsened during the pandemic. And I think that the proposals that are presented in this budget are long overdue because the system was in crisis even before the pandemic, as has been said. And I know that our Republican conference has been in favor of being fair to direct care workers and has pushed for the types of initiatives that we're seeing in the budget this year. And we're really grateful to see it. We've also been very strong supporters of the Joseph P. Dwyer program. And it's really wonderful to see, well, number one, that there's not a need to try to restore funds that have been cut out of a program like that, that's as valuable as it is. And it's good to see that there are ads to that program, significant ads, which I think are going to really help a lot of people. And it's been shown to be a very effective program. I think I agree with many of the comments that my colleagues have made, and I'm not going to repeat them. I just think that people who are in mental health crisis, who have developmental disabilities, who have substance abuse disorder, who are taking care of individuals and counseling individuals with all of these issues. Nobody cares what letter, what political party, it follows their name. This is something that really garners huge bipartisan support. And I welcome the opportunity within the system that we have to continue to advocate for these things. But it is a very encouraging budget from my perspective. And I look forward to seeing these funds continued through and become a part of the final budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Beth. The last person is Tom Abenante.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm Tom Abenante. I'm the chair of the Assembly Committee on People with Disabilities, and it's a pleasure to meet with all of my colleagues here today. The executive budget, as enhanced by the proposals of both houses, is a good start at remedying the long-time neglect of OPWDD and the other human services. Both houses have signaled in their one-house measures that austerity attitude that dominated the last 10 years is being replaced with a can-do approach. Both houses agree that we need to address the crisis in human services workforce, long time in the making and exacerbated by the pandemic. We're all on the same page. Now we need to resolve some of the differences, and maybe, ideally, we can include all of the ideas from both proposals. One of the things that I want to highlight from the Assembly proposal is the provision of monies for services that were long neglected. For example, crisis services. Our budget proposal includes additional monies for mental health crisis and for DD crisis, so that we can get people out onto the street to help those in crisis in their homes, rather than having the police department show up or having the families having to deal with the situation. We can have those who are schooled and skilled at dealing with these crises. We also reject some unnecessary spending, such as the Child Adolescent Needs and Strengths Assessment Program, the CANS program. I think it is pretty much universally accepted in the community that this is not needed. There are better ways of assessing young people who are going to be going into the OPWDD system, and we don't need to spend this money. We're going to redirect these monies towards independent living opportunities. And we all know there's an overwhelming shortage of residence opportunities today. So I look forward to working with the Senate reps, the governor's reps, to make some of these ideas a reality. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator Brooke,
Thank you, Select members. The Senate designates Carolyn Sheridan as the recording secretary for the purpose of taking minutes.
the Assembly designates Lauren Ryan as the recording secretary for the purpose of minutes.
I'll now go through certain areas where we have three-way agreement. The Senate and Assembly have accepted the executive proposed funding levels in the following agencies: Department of Mental Hygiene, Developmental Disabilities Planning Council, and the Justice Center for People with Special Needs. The open agencies are the following agencies are at our table, but are considered open at this time. And that includes the Office of Addiction Services and Supports, the Office of Mental Health, and the Office for People with Developmental Disabilities.
We have a three-way agreement in the following Article 7 proposals. HMH Part LL, both houses accept extending the use of the ambulatory patient group rates until March 31st, 2027, and adding crisis stabilization services to the program being reimbursed at the APG rate. Part HMH and N, both houses accept and authorizing OMH to reimburse supportive housing programs for certain property costs such as mortgage payments, principal, and interest on loans. This will conclude our first meeting of the Health Conference Subcommittee. We will meet again upon the call of the General Conference Committee, and let's work together for the best budget ever.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.